Hi, this is Raz from 7 by Raz. I'm going to show you a video tutorial of how to install an invisible zipper in the new B&B Pocket Tank. Come with me and I'll show you how to do it. We're gonna go through the pieces that you need for this part. You will be needing an invisible zipper. This one's about 8 inches long. You're gonna need an invisible zipper foot, and this is what it looks like. And if you don't have one of these, you will be needing to use your regular zipper foot. Okay, you're gonna need the back exterior piece for the top, and you'll need the bottom piece. There should be some notches that need to be transferred, and you need a second piece that would be the pocket. You also need to stabilize the area where the zipper goes. I use Easy Knit, which is interfacing for knits. It's a two-way stretch. So I cut a strip that's about 1 inch and about 8 inches long. And so you're going to interface the bottom piece between the notches where the zipper is going to be placed. And you're going to interface the top piece of the back where the zipper is going to be placed. You do not need to interface the pocket piece. Next, you're going to prepare your zipper by ironing it, making sure that your teeth are pushed out of the way. You may use some steam, but you want to do this part very quickly so you do not melt your plastic teeth. And there you have it, nice and flat. So because the fusible knit is not woven, you want to press it on the cotton lycra side. If you press the woven piece itself, because it's non-woven, you might melt it. As you can see, it still has some give because it's made for knits. So my machine has the lightning stitch, which is what I usually use. It's a stretch stitch. If you do not have one of those, you might want to use the triple stitch, which is number 5 on my machine. And if you do not have that, you might just want to use a narrow zigzag stitch. So I'm gonna use my regular my regular foot, which is a walking foot, and I am going to attach the bottom piece to the top piece. You will see some notches, so you want to stitch it from the one end, the side seam, all the way to that the notches. I'm going to use my lightning stitch. The seam allowance is 3/8. You might want to use pins. I usually don't use pins. So this is what the lightning stitch does. It will not break when you stretch your fabric out. So you're going to leave the middle center part open, and you're going to stitch from the other end to the other set of notches. Again, the seam allowance is 3/8, and you want to use a stretch stitch. So make sure you back stitch when you get to the notches. There you go. So both sides attached and the center part is, there's a gap. So now you're going to get your zipper. I am going to install my invisible zipper foot, but first I want to show you what it looks like when you're stitching. So you're gonna have to put them right sides together. So right sides of your zipper to the right side of your fabric. My tape is usually a little bit longer than the gap, so that the two ends are going to be off on the other side of the notches. Usually your tape between the side and the teeth will be 3/8 of an inch, so perfect for the seam allowance. So your invisible zipper foot comes with the two notches, as you see, and what those do is that they go over the teeth like so, and then your needle will be going through the other side, and that's where the stitching is going to be. So it's very, very close to the teeth. So now I've installed my zipper foot, and I have a pin just to hold everything in place. I make sure that the plastic stop is way beyond the stitches I made before from the side seam. So you're going to drop your foot and make sure that the teeth are on the other side, and then your needle will be very, very close to the teeth. You don't usually need to pin, just make sure your raw edges are aligned, and your other finger will kind of push the teeth out of the way. This is also the reason we iron the zipper, so they push the teeth out of the way as well. You're going to have your back stitches, and then carefully stitch all the way to the other end. So just make sure you're pushing the teeth out of the way. As we all know, zippers and thread are not friends. If you have one thread over, your zipper is not going to open or close. I am just using a regular straight stitch, not my stretch stitch, because this area has been has some interfacing, so it's been stabilized. Just make sure your zipper pull is out of the way when you get closer to the end, and then you want to stitch all the way down as far as you can go. You get to the end, make sure you do your back stitch. And so this is what it should look like. Your stitches are very close to the teeth, and from the right side all you see are the teeth and none of the tape. So we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Most people would want to start from the end like so and go to the back to the front. If you do it this way, you make sure that your teeth are on the groove that's on the right side. So if you wanted to start from this side, which is quite difficult, I wouldn't advise you doing it. So I usually just start from the front And then I make sure that my teeth are now on the other side. And then your thread, it's just the opposite groove, closer to the right side. You're going to have a pin in the beginning, back stitch, make sure your raw edges are aligned, the raw edge of your fabric and that of the zipper. Now you're gonna get rid of your pin and stitch all the way to the end, making sure that the teeth are kind of pushed out of the way. Make sure your pull is not in the way, because if your needle hits it, it's going to break. So you pull your zipper all the way open and make sure your zipper pull is out of the way. Stitch as far as you can go. Then you're going to back stitch again. And so this is what it should look like the front. So now you want to make sure that your zipper is not cut in anything, so you want to close it. And there you go. You can barely tell there's a zipper there unless you see the pull. So now when you look at the back, you'll see some two gaps between your side seam and the seam for the zipper. You're just gonna use your regular zipper foot and make sure you kind of stitch from there to there. To close the gap. And then for the other side, you are going to take, once you have this closed on the one side, on the second side where you have, where it's the beginning of the zippers, you have those two parts that are flopping open. And just like if you're making a dress or a pair of pants, you want to attach them to the seam closest to them. So you just make a tiny stitch to hold them so they're not flapping around. Okay, so you can barely see it. That's what we want. Do not top stitch because we want it to be invisible. Okay, now you are going to press the seam open. And so this is what it looks like done before adding the pocket. The zipper is in the center. You're going to flip it wrong sides up. You're going to retrieve your bottom piece, which will be the pocket. And so now we are going to attach. I would put the right side of my piece facing the wrong side of my completed top back piece. only because when I open the pockets, I want to see the pretty side. But you might do it the other way if you preferred. So now you are going to attach it, this bottom pocket piece. You don't want to attach it to both seams. You want to attach it just to the one at the back, which would be the one from the top back piece. So you're going to align those two seams, just the one side, not both sides. If you attach them together, you'll be closing your zipper completely and it will not be functional. And I would stitch slightly less than 3/8 of the seam, just because when you get to the zipper, you don't want to be too close to the teeth. So I would go very, maybe 1/16 away from that stitch line. And again, we're going to use the zigzag or stretch stitch. When you get to the zipper, you just make sure you push the bottom part out of the way and just stitch on the seam at the back. And you're gonna do it all the way to the end. I'm going to do this part off camera and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So once that part is done, you want to complete your tank, follow the instructions, and this is what it will look like completed. You can barely see the zipper. Incognito pocket. Thank you for watching and hope you enjoyed it.